The celebration inside Helios 9 space station was loud and wild, a mix of alien music, human laughter, and bright lights that painted the metal halls in strange colors. Captain Ryan Walker stood with his human squad near the center of the feast, feeling tired after months of patrolling dangerous borders, but the happiness around him made him smile a little. He was not drunk, only relaxed, but one careless joke he made that night changed everything for him. One soldier teased him, asking when he would settle down and get married. Ryan laughed and raised his cup, saying, "Fine, I will marry the ugliest creature in the galaxy if it helps me retire early." Everyone around him laughed, thinking it was normal soldier humor, nothing serious, nothing dangerous, but someone else heard the joke. Someone who should never be angered. General Gorak Fourblades, a four-armed alien warrior known across 10 systems, stood on the other side of the hall. His species, the Carcoon, were tall, wide, and very strong, with armor-like skin and fast tempers. And Gorak was not just any Carcoon, he was their champion, their protector, and the father of one daughter he loved more than life. That daughter was Princess Thera Gorak, a shy, four-armed girl with soft silver eyes and a quiet nature. She was not considered beautiful among her people, and many mocked her, but her father saw her as precious and rare. When Gorak heard Ryan's joke, he misunderstood. He believed the human was insulting Thera, and nothing in the galaxy angered him more than an insult toward his daughter. Without any warning, Gorak's loud, booming voice shook the entire hall. "You, human!" he shouted. The music stopped instantly, cups froze mid-air, and all species turned toward Ryan. Ryan blinked in confusion, his smile fading. "Yes, sir?" he answered carefully. Gorak marched toward him with heavy, earth-shaking steps, his forearms swinging like giant hammers. "You said you would marry the ugliest creature?" the general growled. "Tell me, human, were you talking about my daughter?" The entire hall gasped. Ryan felt his heart drop. No, I didn't mean anyone. It was just a joke." "Silence!" Gorak thundered, raising his massive hand. The crowd stepped back, forming a wide circle around them. Ryan now stood alone in the center, facing a mountain of muscle and fury. Some aliens whispered, "The human insulted the princess." Others whispered, "Gorak will crush him." Ryan knew it did not matter. If he refused, the humans would look weak, and a large diplomatic fight might start. If he accepted, he might die, but at least honor would be saved. Then Ryan noticed something strange. Behind a metal pillar, a shy, four-armed girl with soft silver eyes was watching. She was smaller than Gorak, nervous, and holding her hands close to her chest. Her eyes showed fear and sadness, not pride. This was Princess Thera. Ryan realized she was not angry, not proud, not insulted. She was afraid of what her father might do. Ryan took a deep breath and stepped forward. "General Gorak," he said clearly, "I respect your daughter. I meant no insult. But if fighting you is the only way to bring peace, then I accept." The hall erupted with shock. Some aliens cheered, some humans cursed softly, unable to believe Ryan had actually agreed. Gorak's four eyes widened, then narrowed with approval. "You have courage, human, but courage will not save you." Arena shields activated around the two, creating a glowing circle of energy. Thera gasped and covered her mouth. She did not want anyone to get hurt because of her. Ryan stretched his arms, trying to relax his body. Gorak cracked all 8 knuckles in the sound like breaking stone. "This is a duel of honor," Gorak said. "If you survive 1 minute, I will consider you worthy." Ryan muttered, 1 minute. Easy, though his voice shook. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Gorak charged like a stampeding beast. Ryan barely rolled aside before a massive fist slammed into the floor. Metal cracked, sparks flew, and shockwaves made nearby cups jump into the air. Ryan scrambled to his feet, heart racing. "I am definitely going to die," he whispered. Then something unexpected happened. Thera suddenly stepped forward, her voice trembling but loud. "Father, please stop," she cried. Everyone froze again. Her eyes were full of fear and sadness. She did not want anyone to get hurt because of a misunderstanding. Ryan looked at her and felt something shift in his chest. She was not ugly. She was not a monster. She looked lonely, gentle, and innocent. And that moment marked the true beginning of everything that was about to come.
The arena shields around Ryan and General Gorak flickered, but the duel had paused the moment Princess Thara's voice filled the hall. No one expected her to speak, not even her father. Among the Carcoon, daughters were quiet, respectful, and never interfered in matters of honor. Yet Thara stepped forward, her four hands trembling, her silver eyes full of worry. "Father, please! Stop this," she whispered, though her voice carried through the silent hall like a bell. Gorak slowly turned toward her, surprise replacing his anger for the first time that night. "Thara," he said, his deep voice softening, "this human insulted you." Thara shook her head quickly. "He did not insult me, Father. He did not even know I was here." The crowd murmured in confusion. Many Carcoon warriors glanced at each other, unsure how to react. It was rare to see a Carcoon princess challenge her father publicly. Ryan watched her carefully, noticing how her arms folded close to her body as if she wanted to shrink away from everyone's eyes. She looked scared, but something inside her pushed her to speak anyway. Ryan felt a strange respect for her growing steadily. This girl was not weak at all. She had more courage than many warriors in that hall. Gorak frowned, trying to understand. "Thara, you called you—" "I know what he said," she interrupted softly. "But he was joking with his friends, not talking about me." Her voice cracked a little. "I do not want someone to fight for me because of a misunderstanding." The hall grew even quieter. Ryan could feel the weight of her words settling on the shoulders of every warrior present. He stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands raised to show respect. "General," he said gently, "your daughter is right. I never meant disrespect, and I do not wish for blood to be spilled tonight." Gorak turned his full attention back to the human captain. His forearms flexed, his jaw clenched. He wanted to believe his daughter, but his pride as a warrior pressed against his mind like a heavy stone. "If I back down now," he muttered, "they will say I am weak." Thara shook her head again. "They will say you listened to the truth," she whispered, "and that you protected peace." Those words hit the general harder than any blade could. For a moment, he saw not the crowd, not the insult, not the challenge. He saw only his daughter, the only family left to him after years of war. Her fear, her trembling hands, her love for peace, it all cut deeper than any wound he ever felt. Gorak lowered one of his arms slightly, torn between pride and love. The hall waited, breathless. Some thought the general might explode in rage. Others thought he might break down in shame. Ryan used the moment to step even closer. "General Gorak," he said, "I am willing to apologize in any way your culture accepts, but I will not fight your daughter's father when she clearly does not want violence." He took a deep breath. "If you still want the duel, I will fight. but I would prefer we end this without more pain." Those words surprised even Thara. Her eyes widened, and for the first time, she truly looked at Rian. Not as a human soldier, not as a threat, but as someone who did not mock her, someone who listened. Gorak's 4 shoulders rose as he inhaled deeply. His fists unclenched slowly. The metal floor creaked under him as he took one step back, then another. Finally, he lowered all 4 arms to his sides. The energy shields around the arena dissolved in a soft glow. A wave of shocked whispers filled the hall. Carcoon warriors stared at their general. Humans exhaled in relief. Rian felt sweat run down his back as the tension finally loosened. Gorak looked at his daughter, his voice calmer now. "You speak with wisdom, Thara," he said. "I forget sometimes that you are not a child anymore." Thara lowered her head shyly. "I only want peace, father," she whispered. Then Gorak turned toward Rian. His huge figure leaned forward, shadowing the human captain. Rian gulped, but didn't back away. The general's booming voice echoed through the hall. "You have shown courage, restraint, and honesty," he said, "qualities rare among warriors." Rian nodded respectfully. "Thank you," he replied. "I only wish to avoid unnecessary war." The general huffed, a deep rumble like distant thunder. "Perhaps," he said, "you are not as foolish as most humans." A few humans cluckered nervously. Gorak raised one finger toward Rian. "But you must still prove yourself," he declared suddenly. Rian's eyes widened. Prove myself?" he repeated nervously. Gorak nodded. "You will not fight me, but you must complete a different challenge." The hall buzzed with curiosity. Thara looked scared again. Rian felt his stomach tighten. "What challenge?" he asked slowly. Gorak pointed toward the massive armored doors at the end of the hall. "Tomorrow," he said, "you will enter the trial cavern." Gasps filled the air instantly. Even some alien warriors stepped back in fear. The trial cavern was legendary. A maze of darkness, traps, and ancient beasts. Only true champions returned alive. Thara's face turned pale. "No, father," she whispered. "That place is too dangerous." But Gorak shook his head. "If this human wishes to restore honor, he must survive the cavern." Rian felt a shiver run down his spine. He had no idea what waited inside, but he knew one thing. This was only the beginning of a much bigger story. A story that would change his life, the Carcoon culture, and maybe even the galaxy.
The next morning came too quickly. Helios 9 station was still waking up when Captain Ryan Walker stood outside the giant armored doors of the trial cavern. Carcoon guards lined the hall, their spears glowing with blue energy. Every alien eye watched him with suspicion, curiosity, or silent challenge. For many of them, the human would not return alive. The trial cavern had swallowed warriors far stronger than him. Yet, here he stood, breathing slow, forcing fear out of his mind. General Gorak arrived with heavy footsteps, his armor shining like polished stone. He looked at Ryan not with anger now, but with the cold judgment of a warrior testing another. "This is your final chance to withdraw," Gorak said. "Once you enter, the door will seal until the cavern decides your fate." Ryan shook his head. "I will go," he replied. "I gave my word." Thara stepped forward carefully, her forearms held close to her chest as if protecting her own heart. Ryan noticed she looked different today, not fearful like last night, but quietly determined. Her voice was soft but steady as she spoke. "You do not need to do this," she whispered. "I told Father it was a misunderstanding, but
he still insists. Ryan smiled gently. I'm doing this for myself too, so your father will know humans respect honor. Thara lowered her eyes. You might not come back, she said, her voice cracking. Ryan felt something shift in his chest again, a strange protective feeling he never expected for someone he barely knew. I'll come back, he said simply. I promise. Gorak raised his voice for the entire hall to hear. The trial cavern will test your strength, your fear, your mind, and your heart, he announced. Survive, and you will earn my respect. Fail, and your story ends here. The giant doors groaned open, releasing a wave of cold, damp air that smelled of ancient stone and danger. The inside was completely dark, like a mouth waiting to swallow anyone foolish enough to enter. Ryan took one step, then another, crossing the threshold. The moment he entered, the doors slammed shut behind him with a thunderous echo. Silence swallowed the hallway outside. Inside, the darkness felt alive. The air was heavy, humid, and thick with the scent of old secrets. Ryan activated a small wrist light, its beam slicing thinly through the shadows. He took slow, careful steps, each one echoing down unseen tunnels. Every legend he heard about this place came rushing back. War beasts older than Carcoon civilization, traps left by forgotten tribes, illusions that drove the weak-minded insane. Ryan forced those thoughts away and kept moving. He pressed his palm against the wall as he walked. The stone felt warm, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Great, he muttered. The walls are alive. A low growl suddenly echoed through the cavern. Ryan froze. The sound was not human, not mechanical, not natural. It came from something large, very large. He slowly raised his light, pointing it forward. The beam shook slightly in his hand. Two glowing yellow eyes stared back at him from the darkness. Then the creature stepped into the light. It was a massive beast, almost like a giant lion, but with armored plates and claws like serrated blades. Ancient markings glowed faintly on its back, symbols of a guardian creature, the trial beast. Ryan swallowed as the creature growled again. He whispered to himself, "Well, this is bad." The creature lunged at him. Ryan rolled aside, the creature's claws scraping stone where his head had been moments earlier. He scrambled to his feet and drew his plasma knife. The blade hummed with blue energy, casting more light. The beast roared, shaking dust loose from the ceiling. Ryan circled slowly, keeping his distance. The creature's movements were heavy but fast. It attacked again, and Ryan dodged just in time, barely avoiding the strike. He knew he couldn't kill this monster. It was too big, too armored. But he didn't need to kill it. He needed to survive, to outsmart it. The beast lunged a third time, and Ryan noticed something. Every time it attacked, its left side opened slightly, exposing a soft patch under its armor. Ryan took a deep breath. "Okay, I see your weakness," he muttered. The beast roared and charged again. Ryan stepped toward it instead of away, surprising the creature. He slid under its massive body, cutting the exposed weak spot with a sharp slash. The beast howled in pain and stumbled, shaking violently. Ryan ran, diving behind a tall stone pillar. The beast crashed into the pillar, shattering it, but now it limped, slower, injured. Ryan didn't attack again. He didn't need to. The cavern shifted suddenly, stone grinding, like gears turning. The ground beneath the beast opened in a wide pit. The creature roared as it fell into the darkness below. Then the stone floor closed again, sealing the pit. The beast was gone. The cavern had judged the fight. Ryan leaned against the wall, chest heaving. "That was too close," he whispered. A soft glowing symbol appeared on the wall ahead, a sign of approval, a sign to move deeper, a sign he had passed the first trial. Meanwhile, outside the cavern, Thara stood with her hands pressed together, praying silently. Gorak watched the closed doors with mixed emotions: doubt, pride, fear, and a growing curiosity. No human had ever gone this far. Inside the cavern, Ryan walked forward, unaware that the next trial would not test his strength, but his heart. And that trial would change everything between him and Thara.
The glowing symbol on the cavern wall slowly faded as Rian walked deeper into the second section of the trial cavern. The air turned colder, the tunnel narrower, and the walls felt less like stone and more like something living, breathing alongside him. The first trial had tested his strength, but something inside him whispered that the next trial would be worse, much worse. As he moved forward, his wrist light flickered. The shadows stretched and twisted as if alive, watching him from every direction. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shook gently, and a low hum vibrated through the air. Then everything went quiet. Too quiet. Rian took a slow breath. "I don't like this," he muttered. His voice echoed strangely, as if the cavern repeated his words in a dozen different tones. He took one more step forward, and the world around him instantly changed. The cavern disappeared. The stone walls dissolved into a bright white field, endless and empty. Rian looked around, confused and alert. "What is this place?" he whispered. A soft voice answered behind him. "It is the trial of the heart." Rian spun around, raising his knife instinctively. But what he saw made his grip loosen in shock. It was Thara, or at least a perfect illusion of her. Her eyes glowed softly, and she looked calmer, more confident than the real Thara outside. Rian blinked. "You're not real," he said slowly. The illusion smiled sadly. "I am the voice of your choices, and your fear." Rian stepped back, suddenly uneasy. The cavern was showing him what he feared, what he wished, or what he did not understand about himself. The illusion walked closer, her forearms gentle and relaxed. She whispered, "You think my father is your enemy, but he is only protecting me." Her voice echoed softly, "You think I am weak, but you are wrong." Rian swallowed, unsure how to react. He had never thought Thara was weak, but he had sensed her fear and quiet sadness. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked the illusion. "Because the heart decides what the warrior truly is," the illusion answered. "Do you fight only to live, or do you fight to protect?" The ground shifted again. Suddenly, Rian found himself standing in a battlefield. Smoke rose, fire burned, and human soldiers screamed for help. Rian spun around, heart racing. "This isn't real," he whispered. "This can't be real." But the illusion did not stop. It showed him every failure he ever lived through, every friend he lost, every decision he doubted. Rian sank to his knees as the battlefield faded again, replaced by darkness. Then a small light appeared in front of him, at first tiny, then growing brighter, until it shaped into Thara again, the real Thara, trembling, scared, unsure, her eyes full of innocence and worry, her hands shaking, her heart exposed without words. The cavern spoke through her image. "Will you protect the weak even when you are weak yourself? Will you choose compassion over anger? Will you choose understanding over fear?" Rian stared at the illusion, heart heavy. Then he stood up slowly. "I will," he said firmly, "because strength without compassion is nothing." The entire illusion shattered like glass. The white void cracked open, and Rian suddenly fell backward into reality, landing hard on the cavern floor. His head spun, his breath shaking, but he felt lighter inside.
as if something inside him had changed. A glowing symbol appeared again on the wall, brighter than before. He had passed the second trial, not with strength, but with heart. Outside the cavern, Thara paced back and forth nervously. Her hands kept twisting, her breath unsteady. "Why is it taking so long?" she whispered. General Gorak stood beside her, his massive arms folded, but his eyes softer than usual as he watched his daughter. "He must face the trials alone," he said. "Even I cannot interfere." Thara shook her head. "What if he is hurt?" she asked. "What if he fails?" Gorak grunted softly. "He is stronger than you think," he said, though even he was unsure. Inside, Rion pushed himself back onto his feet. He wiped sweat from his forehead and forced himself forward. Each step felt heavier, not because he was weak, but because he realized something important. He cared about Thara now, not just because she saved him, not just because she was kind, but because he saw the depth of her heart during the illusion, a depth she tried to hide from everyone, even from herself. He moved deeper into the cavern, unaware that the third trial ahead was the final one, the trial that would reveal the truth about Thara, the truth about Gorak, and the truth about the destiny he never expected.
Rion moved deeper into the trial cavern, feeling the air grow warmer with every step. He did not know if minutes passed or hours. Time seemed strange inside the cavern. The walls glowed faintly now, lighting the path without his wrist lamp. And then, suddenly, the tunnel opened into a huge round chamber, a chamber unlike anything he had seen before. The ceiling shimmered with glowing crystals, the floor pulsed with strange light, and in the middle of the room stood a tall stone pillar with ancient markings carved into it. This was not a battlefield, not a monster nest, not a place of fear. This was the heart of the trial cavern, the final test. Rion stepped toward the pillar, feeling the energy of the room shaking his bones. A deep voice echoed around him, not from a creature, not from a speaker, but from the cavern itself. "The final trial is not of strength," the voice said, "not of fear, but of truth." Rion swallowed hard. "What truth?" he whispered. The stone pillar cracked open slowly, revealing a glowing screen-like surface. Images began to form, swirling into shape. At first, Rion didn't understand what he was seeing, but then his breath caught. It was Thara. Not as she was now, but as a child, smaller, frightened, alone, surrounded by Carcoon warriors, shouting and fighting, her mother holding her tightly, Gorak fighting a monstrous beast trying to reach them. The cavern showed Rion Thara's past, a childhood filled with fear and danger, a tribe that mocked her looks, warriors who whispered that she was weak because of her gentle nature, enemies who tried to kidnap her because they knew she was the only heir to Gorak's bloodline. Rion watched in silence as the truth unfolded. Thara's fear, her loneliness, her shy nature, none of it was weakness. It was survival. Pain she never told anyone, not even her father. The cavern spoke again. "You see her as fragile," it said, "but she is stronger than many warriors. She carries the wounds of her past in silence." The images changed again. Now Rion saw Gorak holding a tiny Thara in his arms, crying as he carried her from a ruined battlefield. The mighty general, feared by many, was trembling like a broken man. "This is why he protects her fiercely," the voice said. "This is why he challenged you." Rion felt a deep ache in his chest. He understood now. This family was not built on pride or violence, but on fear of losing each other. Pain no one else knew, armor and anger hidden under love. Then the images vanished, and the cavern grew silent again.
A new symbol glowed on the pillar, brighter than any before. The final test was not a fight. It was understanding, compassion, seeing the truth of others. Rian stepped forward and touched the glowing symbol. A warm light wrapped around him, lifting him gently off the ground. The cavern hummed like a voice of approval, and then everything went white. A moment later, the giant doors of the trial cavern shook violently. Thara gasped and rushed forward as the doors slowly opened. Her eyes scanned the darkness with panic. Then she saw him, Captain Rian Walker, walking out, tired, dusty, bruised, but alive. Thara ran to him without thinking, all four arms reaching out. She stopped just before touching him, afraid it might be disrespectful. But Rian smiled softly. "It's okay," he whispered, and Thara stepped forward, gently wrapping two arms around him while the other two hovered shyly. Rian laughed softly. "You really were worried," he said. Gorak stepped forward with heavy steps. He looked at Rian with a new expression, not anger, not suspicion, but respect. Deep, powerful respect. He said, "You passed the cavern not by power, but by heart." He lifted one of his massive hands and placed it on Rian's shoulder. "In Carcoon tradition, a warrior who survives all three trials becomes family," he declared loudly. The hall erupted in surprised gasps. Thara froze, her cheeks turning a deep purple blush. Rian blinked, confused. "Family?" he repeated. Gorak nodded proudly. "You have earned the right to stand beside my daughter." Thara covered her face with two hands, her other two arms twisting nervously, but her eyes shone with a soft, warm light. A light Rian had not seen before, a light that made his chest feel warm. Rian bowed respectfully. "I will honor her, and I will honor you." Gorak nodded, and perhaps, he added, with a rare smile, "you humans are not completely foolish." Thara laughed softly, the sound gentle and precious. Rian smiled at her, the beginning of something new forming quietly between them, something unexpected, something strong. The trial cavern had tested strength, fear, and truth, but its greatest purpose had been something else, to bring two hearts together that were never meant to meet. A human warrior and a four-armed princess, connected not by battle, but by understanding, respect, and the start of a story the galaxy would never forget.